Alright, September 25th, out on the 44.5 acres in Salem, New York. We're at the first food plot here. Oh, 3/4 of an acre in size. I don't know if you can see it, the camp's basically right in that tree line there. Just to give you an idea, the camp's a 16 by 30, or sorry, 8 by 32 construction trailer, just kind of set up as a bunkhouse hunting camp. It does have solar power, propane shower, so it's nice to spend a couple days in. So just looking at things here, about 3/4 of an acre here on this first food plot. I want to spend a second just to kind of give you some information. All this stuff is planted with that Kawasaki, call it a 300 four-wheel drive four-wheeler. Oh, a $200 Tractor Supply sprayer. That's all you really need. You know, you don't need the $10,000 drill and 80 horsepower tractor and everything else that, you know, if you watch the big hunting shows, you know, I guess imply that you need. All the soil here has been limed, tilled, so on. Another piece of equipment that you would need is an Earthway seeder. You know, call it $40 at Agway, and you're in the game. You're producing literally tons of forage. You know, this here I plant in soybeans. See them right here. You know, are they browsed heavily? Absolutely. Do they have some bean pods? Yep. So, you know, this is going to be a mixture of soybeans, brassicas, which is your turnip, rape, radishes, and so on. So, you know, and this is putting it on, you know. I mean, look at the size of that turnip right there. I don't know if you can see it well. You know, it's going to feed deer for months here. So this is the first field, about 3/4 of an acre. You know, if you want more information on the way I do this stuff, I'm gonna plug Whitetail Habitat Solutions. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but he does things much more professionally than I would. You're certainly welcome to use me as a resource. But he tends to explain things well, or at least give ideas well, and then you can do some research from there, or call me, I don't care. I'm always happy to talk hunting with people, you know. I don't have cable TV, so I got to do something. So here's the access to the back of the blind. You know, stay hidden going in the second food plot here, and we're backing in the blind here with cover. Nothing can see us, it's out in the food plot. So, this one's about 2.5 acres. Good sized plot. Same mixture as the first plot right now, brassicas over beans. You can see that the beans were much thicker in here, so the brassicas didn't take as well. So today I will overseed again with some winter wheat. You know, winter wheat, you're talking, I don't know, $12–15 an acre. So we'll use that and make sure we have food here year round. You can kind of see the difference here. There's a lot of beans here in the shadows. So this brush line way up there is 202 yards from here. And you can see that the deer hit the beans on that side much heavier than this side earlier in the summer. So that's why the brassicas came up much better up there. Got a fresh scrape right underneath the apple tree. I call it 6 yards from the blind here. Can't tell if there's only one, or normally there's 3 or 4. It might be another one right there. I think it is. Alright, so this is the west end of that second food plot that we were shooting the video out of the shooting house. So up here we have some apple trees trimmed out, A nice scrape under this tree here. I personally like to have stuff breaking up my food plots like this. I feel, especially here in New York, or you know, if you're maybe in Michigan or some really other high hunter density state, you can never have enough cover, almost, you know, or a quality cover maybe. Cover that deer feel comfortable in and can move through, but also feel safe. I'd be floored if there isn't a scrape under this apple tree. Yeah, there is. Wasn't freshened up in the last day or two, but it's there. You can see the licking branch. See the one dangling there is broke off as a licking branch. Little scrape right there. We'll walk up here to the property line. It's 60 yards. It's not too far. So this trail that I'm on right now is maintained by the Snowmobile Club. I've had zero issues with these people. Good run here that dumps into the thicket and then leads to that food plot down there about 60 yards. But if you look at this cover, okay, where in 30 yards a deer is gone, and then you look at my surrounding neighbors, so this is to the south of the property. One thing on this property that doesn't show on the topographical maps, because it's not a big variation, is the amount of little ridges and drainages there are here. You know, I would say every 50 yards on average, there's at least a change in 10 foot in elevation. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it's enough to make a deer feel a lot more secure. All right, I went clear to the directly north, so I'm basically just went along the midline of the property, but now I'm on the northwest side. So my property line's right here. Okay, snowmobile trail that they mow is here. You can see how tall this grass is up here. I'm standing on top of the four-wheeler to give you an idea. You know, you're talking 8 foot tall, something like that. Good amount of cover. You know, this area should be mowed every, I don't know, 3 years. Ideally it would be burned off, but the state of New York is run by a bunch of people from the city, so you can't burn your property like a farmer anymore, I guess. So we'll see, but it's good habitat though. You know, there's a lot of food here, especially early in the spring. A lot of cover, you know, once it gets a little cooler. All right, so snowmobile trail that I was just on is 120 yards that way. This is probably the number one AM kill spot on the property, although it has to be hunted very precisely. It has to be a north or northeast wind in the morning and a rising barometer, which is fairly normal with a north wind. So again, got a food plot right here. This one's small, call it 1/8 of an acre, maybe a little bigger than that. It's probably 1/4 acre to 1/3 of an acre. And then that extends as just a logging road food plot from here all the way to the north end. So call it 350, 400 yards. But what ends up happening here is basically right at the edge of this food plot is kind of the breakover where it starts to fall away. And typically you're going to get bucks cruising out of these white oaks, down along, just past those birch trees. I did create a small hinge cutting right there, which it houses some does, but I've never seen a buck there. A lot of early morning movement here though in this place. Unfortunately, I don't get to hunt here a ton, but on any north wind in the AM, this is where I'd be. The reason why you need a in the AM is you're kind of using your thermals here, meaning most of the deer are still going to be downwind of you, but your thermals are going to be going up in the morning. So you have the best of both worlds. The deer feel real secure, and they're scent checking for does here, and then your thermals are going up into the valley there, and you know, you're all set. In the afternoon, even with a north wind, your wind would die here, and I'm not going to say that you aren't going to see bucks in this food plot, but the kind of deer that I'm trying to shoot, I'm going to shoot them right here. You know what I mean? I'm going to shoot them 20-30 yards that way, because they're going to come down off this side hill and scent check this area before they even walk out into the food plot. So, you know, there's no sense in boogering it up, you know. So yeah, this is, I'll call it the third food plot, I guess. Oh, probably, including the logging road, maybe about a ½ acre. Something like that. Got a bunch of white and red oaks too, all along that side hill. And basically this line right here starts a sanctuary. This one on the south, I'm going to call it on the southeast side of the snowmobile trail, is 8.5 acres, plus or minus. Quite a lot of deer definitely bedding there, and it's perfect. It's perfect habitat for them. I don't know if it's perfect habitat for them, but it's better than anything else in most of New York. You know, they got everything that they want in there: cover, food, and ladies. So, and no interruptions, no disturbances in there. You'd be surprised in a pressured area how little it takes to keep a buck happy. So this is one of the ridgetop plots that I have, all in clover right now. Apple trees all over it. Seems like the apples dropped awful early this year, because these trees were all right loaded. Last time I was here, 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. So, but we still got plenty of food. Bunch of clover right there. Scrape under that bush right there. So, plenty of activity. So this is about call it a 1/4 of an acre plot, 1/3 of an acre, somewhere in that range. And then it has a clover path the length of the ridgetop. So sanctuary is all to the south here and loops down through here. Property line is 60-70 yards that way. Beautiful spot though. Killed a lot of does here. Haven't had, well, truthfully, I haven't been here in the best hunting times. I've been in the Midwest, you know, the end of October, early November, but a lot of pictures of really nice deer up here. Typically they start, just like everywhere else in the world, October 22nd, October 23rd, and you know, run through the end. I know I got some video footage off a camera of a real nice buck for around here. I've seen him twice. I believe he's still alive, and if he is, he'd be either 6.5 or 7.5 this year. I've had photos of him from September through January on this property, so I do believe he either lives on me here or lives real close, but I don't get a ton of photos of him. You know, I probably average one a week. But if that deer is spending that amount of time here, he's either bedding on me or bedding real close. You know, and I will say this, I don't run a lot of cameras. In New York, I believe it's another source of pressure. So the cameras that I do have aren't necessarily in my best areas. You know, I mean, I have a camera right next to the camp. And when I mean right next to it, I'm talking, well, truthfully, it might as well be a security camera for the camp. I mean, it's 8 yards from the door, and I get photos of deer constantly. So, I mean, the areas that I put my cameras aren't necessarily areas that I hunt a lot. So, it just so happens this little food plot has a tree that I can get a camera 10 feet in the air in, and just the way it leans and everything, it covers the plot well, so it's well out of their peripheral vision. You know, I check it 3 times a year, you know, but this is what we're looking at. So that basically wraps up what I'm going to call the east half of the property. So everything that we've looked at is in roughly, if I had to guess, somewhere between 15 and 19 acres. And then we'll start taking a look at the backside. So that last bed I showed you, and I said that there's another big bed 50 yards from here, that's the one I had in mind. Now, same deer using it. Well, we're a little over halfway, I'm going to say north on this ridge. And I'll bring this up too. On any hunting property, I like the ridges to be going north and south. The main reason behind that is, I'm not going to say winning the wind war, winning the wind war with the deer. That's part of it. Part of it is I like having the deer moving through areas that are quartering to the main source of wind. In the northeast here, or at least this area that I grew up hunting in, a great majority of my encounters with deer are with the wind out of the northwest, west, maybe the north. Anyway, it's pretty much those 3 wind directions for me. You know, when I have my quality deer encounters, I don't, you know, seeing a doe or shooting a doe is great, don't get me wrong. But with a property like this that's not, you know, 500 acres, I'm going to wait to those prime days. Northwest wind, west wind, you know, cold front, bluebird days, when the deer are really moving. We just put 2 deer out of here. I think it was 2 does, but so this is kind of the leading edge of this sanctuary, and you can see I fell a bunch of pine trees here again that weren't worth anything, and look at the ground regrowth here. I mean, this is perfect. You know, it's a little more open here, has a little more sunlight than the other spot, but I also made the opening bigger, so you know, go figure. So this is what needs to be done. Look at the brambles, look at the browse that the deer have here. You know, it's endless, and they are using it. I mean, you know, look at how browse that is. You know, Daisy, go find a shed in here. Go on, go find a shed. Yeah, let's I'll keep walking down here a little bit and I'll show you what I'm talking about, what I'm really going after with this. I made 2 areas in here. This area up here that, like we just did, we just kicked some does out of, that are kind of on the edge, the peripheral, I guess, of this cutting. It's not easy to get back in here. I'm gonna hit pause. But you can see what I'm talking about, you know, ground cover, browse, sight line reduction for the deer, so they have to spend more time looking for one another. You know, look at this wall here. This is all browse for them. Now this is only, you know, this is 8 foot high, 9 foot high, and 15 foot wide. And we'll go on to the other side where I'm hoping the bucks are bedding. Now this is exactly what I wanted to see. Just over head height. Right now, popple regeneration. Look at all the browse right here. There's my dog as a reference. The amount of food that's right here in this spot is more natural browse in this half acre than was on this entire property when I bought it. It's amazing. It's awesome. That's 3 or 4 years old, so perfect. Still in that same general vicinity, but again, just look at what's coming up in here. Okay, this was all bare. This was all typical New York forest where you could see, you know, I don't know, 150 yards. You know, now there's nothing but browse and bedding. One thing I did do, and I'll show you real quick, it's definitely a long-term deal. Like, I don't know how long it would take, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if it would take 10 years. But most of these stumps, I put 2 or 3 sections of log on, just like that. Eventually those are going to be, I have no idea what my dog's going nuts about, but eventually those are going to rot and be small flat places on every one of these stumps. So you see it there, you see it there. You know, now these aren't what I would consider prime bedding right here, but doe family groups will use it. You know, again, I mean, they're all over here. There's not to exaggerate, 150 setups like that, I would say. Look at all the browse that's there now. I mean, this was nothing. This was pine needles, literally. That's the only thing that was here. So, for this to look like this, I'm beyond pumped with it. This is just to give you an idea of what that last area looked like 3 years ago. Okay? So one of the things that I did do here, just, I can't say that I've ever heard anybody say it before, but all my edges, you can see it clear as day right there. I mean, look at the break right there. Are about 75 yards in from the property line. I did that for 2 reasons. Access is one for hunting. The other is I didn't want to create a transition line at my property line where, you know, obviously a neighbor could legally shoot one of the deer. So I wanted to create that edge just out of sight from my property line that the deer are going to frequent, you know. I also didn't want, we have quite a bit of crops to the, I'm going to say northeast, almost, well, I shouldn't say nothing, but there's some crops to the southwest, but they're all like, I'm going to say 300-400 yards at a minimum from the property. So I wanted to keep those deer here. You know, I don't even want my neighbor getting a daytime photo of one of my shooters. You know, I want him on my property, you know, I guess beginning of light to end of light is maybe the best way of putting it. The more days that I can do that, the more likely that deer is to survive another year and have a bigger rack. So that's kind of the end of the tour. Just wanted to give you guys some, you know, a visual of what we got, and also maybe explain some things that why I did what I did. Good luck to everybody this season.